the person that claimed to have the interest was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo agent claimed under penalty of perjury that Wells Fargo acquired servicing rights to the note and deed of trust in June 30th, 2007. Of 6, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How could that be when the house was dirt? The house wasn't even built. The builder still owned that property at that time. So they claim to have servicing rights on dirt and sticks. That is just a lie.
We're here with King Cast Mortgage Movies, and I have here with me on the phone one Barrett Thompson, who resides in California. Mr. Thompson, where do you live?
I live in Riverside, California.
And Mr. Thompson, as you know, I'm an investigative journalist with a legal background and as a residential closing attorney, and I consult homeowners on a frequent basis about second mortgages and sometimes, first mortgages and foreclosure fraud. And I see in this case that you're being foreclosed on by several different entities over the course of the last decade, and I understand you have some issues in your case involving New Century Mortgage and Wells Fargo and Deutschebank. If you could just briefly give us the highlight of this case. I understand there was a bankruptcy agreement, a decree or a plan was assigned, and there was a specific prohibition against any more attempts by anyone to collect on your note that was part of this the trust when the trust was liquidated. Is that correct?
Yes.
And yet and still, who attempted to foreclose on you?
Well, right now, the person today it is SLS, a land servicing company, on behalf of Deutschebank, which I never heard of until this scam have been presented to me against my property.
Right, but back in the day, though, the effective date of the bankruptcy settlement with the plan, there was no possibility of MERS being a nominee for New Century, correct?
Correct, because New Century Mortgage filed bankruptcy in April of 2007. And here we have an assignment been recorded against my property, signed by Wells Fargo attorney Barrett Daffin and Treater and Eagle. One of their own attorneys, Stephen C. forged the documents claiming to be nominee for the defunct company New Century Mortgage.
And what was the date of that assignment?
That assignment was done in 2008. So how in the world, if New Century Mortgage, they filed bankruptcy, they totaled this claim the loan in 2007. So how is it they nominee for a defunct company in 2008? And I filed a complaint against the notary. The notary sent a sworn affidavit stating that proving to her, Stephen C. Porter had full authority to sign that assignment of deed of trust. And she put in there, see Exhibit A. And her Exhibit A was a agreement between Wells Fargo, Barrett Daffin, and also MERS. But if you look in there, you see Stephen Porter's name, and it was signed by the CEO of MERS and signed by, Barrett didn't sign it, but Wells Fargo signed it. And it states that the effective date was sometimes in, I think, October of 2009. So I was saying this woman has to be crazy. Did she know that 2008 comes before 2009?
And moreover, I believe there was a situation here where they drummed up a note from 2006. You had a forensic examiner examine that note, and there were material inconsistencies in the signatures and the initials and all of that. She concluded it was probably a forgery. Or she concluded it was a forgery and falsified document. And yet and still there was another issue about the temporal nature of the interest that MERS claimed to have. Could you explain that?
Well, yeah. Well, mysteriously regarding the note, I've never seen this note in my life until I filed bankruptcy. And this note was presented to the courts. And I looked at it, I'm like, this I'd never be called signing this note. And plus, this was a balloon note. I would never sign a note like this. And I took it to court-approved Beth Chrisman, and she declared that that note is an altered and forged document. Not only my signatures and ignitions was forged, forged that the page 1 didn't even match page 1 and 2 didn't match page 3, and 3 definitely didn't match 4. She was declared it as an altered and forged document.
Now, Mr. Thompson, tell us again, if you will, about the situation in which someone claimed to have an interest in this property in 2006, but at that time in 2006, it was a naked parcel. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so who claimed to have...
It was a...
Go ahead. Now, who claimed to have the interest?
Well, the person that claimed to have the interest was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo agent claimed under penalty of perjury that Wells Fargo acquired servicing rights to the note and deed of trust in June 30th, 2007. Of 6, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How could that be when the house was dirt? The house wasn't even built. The builder still owned that property at that time. So they claim to have servicing rights on dirt and sticks. That is just a lie.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think we talked about too with the attorney we just spoke with is that given what we see from this so-called chain of title, only HSBC could assign anything to Deutschebank, but that's not what we are facing. At the same, we have no proof that that happened.
Yes, there's no clue that that's happening, and there's no assignment. And like even I was explaining that in the SEC filing, New Century filed bankruptcy in 2007, but prior to the bankruptcy, they have sold their loans to NC Capital, and then NC Capital sold it to HSBC. But there is no assignment from neither one of those, and definitely there is no assignment to Deutschebank. So how could this be?
Well, they're busy creating it, sir, and we'll try to catch them in that lie in the next chapter, indeed. Thank you so much for speaking with me this afternoon.